Hey up collective collectors, welcome back to the channel. I just want to introduce you to a short-ish video around 20 minutes, and it's all to do with where your hot toy collection and other action figures and collectibles were created over in Hong Kong and how it came about. Now, it was first aired in 2015 for a Hong Kong based channel called Pearl. Absolutely brilliant, enjoy it, I'm sure you will. Don't forget, like, share and comment down in the bottom. Love to know your stories and what you think. With that said and done, there's one thing left to do. Get out and collect. Till next time.
Christmas, a peak season for toys for all ages. One toy popular with collectors is high-end action figures that have given rise to a $4 billion global industry. Producer Renato Reyes looks at how and why Hong Kong toy makers dominate the market.
Hi, what can I help you?
Just looking for some Iron Man, actually.
Iron Man?
Yeah.
The newest one?
Bernard Lee, 33, a businessman, here shopping for what he's been collecting for the last 15 years, since he was 18. Action figures.
This one is a 1.4 Hulkbuster. It's called 60,000 Hong Kong dollars. We only make limited edition. This one is we only make 300 and then already sold out in 1 month.
Action figures are posable with various points of articulation. These are modeled after superheroes in Hollywood movies. They cost between 1,000 to 2,000 Hong Kong dollars. Their typical collector is male, mostly married, and in his 30s to 50s.
For boys, everyone loves this kind of superhero. They read the comic, they watch the movie. When we grow up, we can afford to pay money for this kind of hobby.
Bernard sells LED lights at this industrial building his family owns in Kwun Tong. These are some of his collection of 40 figures.
Actually, my favorite is the one at the back. This is for Father's Robber. It's very detailed. I like the pistol. You can change this weapon to a shorter one, fake money. Toolbox for all the equipment. The style is dirty industrial feeling. This is limited edition.
His most expensive is this Iron Man at 5,000 Hong Kong dollars.
Downsize. I think you have to spend a lot of money for that.
I just found out that one of his most expensive toys actually costs $5,000, which is quite a lot for a toy. But again, it's what he likes, and I think it's a good motivation for him to earn more money. And as long as he can afford that, and as long as it's not boring.
Hong Kong is the second largest toy exporter in the world after mainland China. In the last toy fair this year, the coolest toys that dominate the event were those for kidouts. Hoverboards, drones, electronic gadgets, as well as action figures. Around 80% of action figures sold worldwide are made by Hong Kong manufacturers.
One category is for the mass market, for the younger children. And then another market is really for the collectors only. Those are high end of the collective action figures. It's a huge market.
$4 billion worth in global sales in 2014, up 4% so far this year.
You treat it as an art object.
Ringo Ho is the new kid on the block when it comes to making action figures. A toy manufacturer for 20 years, he owns this factory in Dongguan that produces toys for kids and Disney souvenirs. Last year, he invested more than 1 million Hong Kong dollars for a license to produce Disney's Marvel Comics superheroes, good for 3 years, and another $1 million to produce one action figure.
The commercial risk is making an inferior figure. Consumers in this field are willing to pay, but only for quality goods.
The first step is doing a 3D design.
You can see more detail like the bell, the helmet, the chest.
Faces are hand sculpted.
Try to make as similar as the character.
Once designed, a prototype and its parts are 3D printed. Each individual part is molded. Polished and painted, assembled and boxed. It takes 9 months from design to delivery.
Initially, we thought it was very simple. We're making toys, not rockets. With over 20 years' experience, we underestimated it. For this one, Mark 42, we made 3 to 4 samples. We threw away the first, the second, the third. Bad again, we threw it out. We wasted months.
This same 9-inch Iron Man action figure has around 300 parts.
300 plastic and metal parts. If one part has problems, all are ruined. We had many projects like that. Many figures were made only to be scrapped. Over 10% of them. 1 to 2 out of 10 figures.
Ringo is one of about 10 license holders in Hong Kong that make action figures based on popular characters from Hollywood movies and TV programs.
You may get the license to produce the hottest characters, but it may not be a good investment because it's expensive, and with many other licenses involved, the market could be already saturated. It's highly associated with the popularity of the characters. At the time, it may be a booming market, or after a few months, it may calm down because the movie is probably only shown for a few weeks. So it is quite risky business.
But this one we already sold out.
I feel it takes time to run a brand. At first, you have to burn money, hold exhibitions, research and development, throw out prototypes, then start a new product.
Sales in the business's first months averaged 100,000 Hong Kong dollars. A year later, Ringo's shop manager says monthly sales now average around 7 million Hong Kong dollars.
The trend is okay. It's too early to say if it's lucrative. It takes 2 to 3 years.
The 1960s saw the birth of the first action figure.
G.I. Joe, U.S. Army, reporting for duty. Yeah, this is all G.I. Joe, all from my collection. Of course, this is my favorite. This is back in the 60s, and 1964 is a sailor, right? With the dog tag, everything, with the scar in the face, beautifully made.
A toy shop owner, Ambrose, is an aficionado with a collection of 1,000 action figures. His latest acquisition, Tommy Gun, made in Britain in 1973.
This one, very hard to get, right? So no possible way you can get it from secondary market or from the toy shop. I'm looking for this for a long time. And I'm so lucky I've come across him through a auction house in England. I placed my bid. Luckily, I got him. How much does it cost? Before, £1.50, right? I think I paid 5,000 Hong Kong dollar. Do you collect action figures yourself?
Yeah, sometimes.
Action figures, for me, is all about a childhood memory. Everybody, in a way, they refuse to grow old. No matter how mature they are, how successful they are in the society.
Ambrose likes toys so much, he opened this shop in 1997, the same hobby that led him to another venture 6 months ago. Custom-made action figures based on real people, his customers.
It's all a matter of a demand. My customer, they're always asking me, do I have this or that? And then it comes up with an idea.
Why not commission toy makers, from 3D graphics designers to manufacturers, to make his clients' wish come true? He's done 6 action figures for clients, including a businessman and an executive, for between 15,000 to 25,000 Hong Kong dollars each, depending on the quality.
They are so proud of themselves. They want the figurine to put it at home or their office, to show it, and also to share with the client of the friends.
Hong Kong has been in this business, in the toy business, for over 60 somewhat years, right? So we have trained up a good team of designers and engineers that they can make any type of toys, including the action figures.
Coming up after the break, going up against the big boys.
Hard to compete.
Hong Kong's own brand of action figures.
Have to strive to gain more exposure.
Some of the best collectibles in the market are produced by Hong Kong companies.
The local market is too small, and they need to think of doing export.
Manufacturers now investigating how to build action figures for China market.
They have started to like all of the action figure. They are buying.
In Hong Kong over action figures started in the late 1990s, spawning the city's first generation of designers. Renato Reyes reports many of them have carved a niche market in an industry dominated by foreign brands.
The World War II Germans, the most popular, very diverse gears. Their uniforms just look a little bit cooler.
Adrian Leung works for a family business that makes its own brand of action figures, Historical Soldiers. The company is among the first in Hong Kong to produce them in 1999, just when the craze over action figures began, driven by technology.
Back in the 60s or the early G.I. Joes, the head sculpts were more simple. The uniforms and the accessories were less detailed. We just took that concept and we just increased the detail and the realism of it. For instance, a gun, you can actually pull the bolts. The pod, you can kind of move it like this. If we decide to do a specific soldier from a specific unit at a specific battle, then we have to go and research that particular battle to see what kind of uniforms they were wearing, what kind of gear they had, what kind of guns they used. Our researchers take a look at old photographs. Sometimes we borrow actual historical items from collectors. This one is a World War II shovel. This is an actual uniform from World War II that we borrowed from a private collector. This is American. A lot of people's fascination with the military probably stems from their own background. Maybe they have a grandfather who fought in World War II.
The company's action figures look so accurate, an Iraqi insurgent group had used one modeled after modern American soldiers to pull a hoax on the United States military in 2005.
About 10 years ago, in the middle of the war in Iraq, one of the insurgent groups got a hold of our action figures, posed the action figure, and they posted on their website claiming that they had captured a U.S. soldier.
An American customer later exposed the hoax and alerted the media. Hong Kong's action figure industry has grown so much over the years, it began last year to hold its own annual exhibition. This year's event features 40 local action figure designers and makers.
We've been traveling around the world, going to different toys exhibitions, and then we found that all the exhibitors, most of them, they're from Hong Kong. And we just thought, like, how comes we don't have a platform like that?
Hong Kong's collectible items market is very mature. Among Asian countries except for Japan, Hong Kong has the largest number of toy collectors. Hong Kong's purchasing power for toys is among the highest globally. So because of this, Hong Kong has a lot more toy designers.
Winston Ma started as an illustrator and graphics designer in the advertising industry. 15 years ago, he switched careers to produce his own brand of action figures. The Ape Explorers, inspired by a classic Hollywood movie.
The Planet of the Apes TV series is one of my childhood favorites. The difficulty lies in devising story ideas, collecting information and appropriate materials for our action figures. There weren't such accessories. We had to draw them, then sculpt them.
He makes one action figure a year. The biggest challenge for his Ape Explorers is taking on the big boys that dominate the market, the superheroes.
Very hard to compete. Marvel, DC are very mature systems. Starting from comics, they've spawned a huge fan base. Our designers are just individual efforts. How can we compete with large companies? Luckily, I've worked in advertising for almost 20 years. I can put my advertising experience into my figures. The story of the design, the characters, and the message delivered. I brought the figures to the Arctic and Antarctic regions to take photos. Mainly, we join toy exhibitions in various places such as Hong Kong, South Korea, Taiwan, and the mainland. For one figure, we may join 8 to 10 exhibitions.
Edward is Winston's fan.
For figures in Hong Kong, he focuses on one design.
Edward works for a garment company. These are some of his 200 action figures.
I like this the most. It's handmade, costs over 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. That's a sensitive matter. Few million, I guess.
Edward regards his collection as an investment.
Artworks are getting more costly at auctions. Prices for toys will also rise, some by 20 to 30%.
He sold some figures online.
As they become rare, you might buy a figure at $10,000 now, and when others like it, they'll pay you tens of thousands of dollars for it.
But collectors like Edward are not the key to expanding the market for local action figure brands.
The local market is too small, and they need to think of doing exports.
One slam dunk strategy for Bill Chan is to target mainland collectors.
We are investing since 2 years ago for the China market.
Bill decided to make action figures 10 years ago at the age of 25.
I collecting Bruce Lee figurines at that time, but I couldn't find one of that to make me satisfied. So I was thinking that why don't I make it and create myself? Require a lot of capitals like licensing fees, production costs, all the marketing, but I have nothing. You don't even have $10,000 in your bank account. Who will believe you?
He borrowed from family and friends to raise 1.6 million Hong Kong dollars to make a Bruce Lee action figure.
I started to buy all kind of similar figurine and study all the structure, all the materials. I go to the toys factory to study before I start making my own figurine.
From Bruce Lee, Bill switched to basketball superstars.
2 years ago, we first released our NBA series like Michael Jordan. So for 4 days, we have 6,000 people waiting to buy this Michael Jordan edition, outside our store.
Now he has 80 distribution channels on the mainland.
It's still not a very good time yet. 2 years, a few more years to educate people. Now they have started to like all the action figures. Right now, the China market share about 12 to 15% of our sales every year. We're looking for 30 to 40% in the next 2 years.
But what action figures would likely click with mainland collectors? Would they look Asian or Western? Man or woman?
China is a very peculiar market. I mean, action figure must be adapting to the culture of China.
That means action figures based on Chinese comics or movies. Bill had done these action figures modeled on Hong Kong actors from a 2014 local movie.
Sell well in Asia and China. This year we're also doing like a Donnie Yen movie.
But there's one market Bill has given up on.
Barbie is very successful for the females, but so we always think about why can't we make something for female, but we have tried once, but it's not very successful.
Bobo is modeled after a local actress in a 2012 Hong Kong film.
We try to bring it out to the market, but end up it's not successful. For the female, we have the hair, the long hair. Okay. Yeah, we still couldn't make it realistic at all.
Toy maker Wong Kim Fung has a different strategy. Partner with mainland artists like comics makers.
I got contact with a young girl artist, and I loved her work. I brought the idea to her that turn her art to action figure, and maybe even some bigger statue.
Wong works with local and international brands to produce their work.
This is a really golden age of the collectibles action figures business. A lot of the new collectors, just getting into this hobby. They keep asking better and better products. The motivation is to keep improving in our techniques and also skill. A lot of more licensing product from all kinds of media like movie, TV, animation. We have the best quality, around the world.